What are you saying, ladies and gents? It is your boy Bucket Sam. Today we are doing a tier list, and you've seen the title. We're doing a Premier League strikers tier list from the 2021-2022 season. So let's get straight into it. Here is the tier list. It was made by somebody else, and what we'll do with these players, we're going to kind of discuss the actual players themselves, and we're not going to talk about just that season because I think that's probably a little bit unfair with some of these strikers. So we'll go through each one, and what I've got on a separate screen here, I've got the Premier League website up, so I can kind of go through and at least kind of search some of these players' records just to give it a little bit of extra context. So let's go straight in and start off with Ivan Toney. Now, Ivan Toney was absolutely incredible. I'm going to go good straight away. I think, kind of on reflection, I think people do like to kind of downplay his season and kind of downplay what he achieved with Brentford. But really, the record he had was absolutely incredible. Like, it is ridiculous when you really think about it. The guy was an absolute joke. I absolutely am obsessed. And you think about kind of the number of goals he scored for that Brentford side. He kind of normalised the 20 goal striker. You know, we talk about it all the time on this channel that a lot of clubs say, oh, we need a 20 goal striker. They don't really exist, but this was a man who did it. So straight away, we're going to go in good. I think he's a very good player. I don't think he's incredible, but I think he's good. Next, we've got Edison Edouard. So I'm going to go Edouard. I'm going to go in awful. Or eh. Now, this is where it's kind of, I might be a bit harsh. I'm going to go awful. Personally, I think he came to the Premier League, he got a lot higher expectation. Like I'd seen him at Celtic and seen the kind of numbers he was putting up, and I was hoping and expecting him to do a little bit better than he did. He's currently on loan at Leicester, being loaned out by Crystal Palace, and it looks like Leicester want to send him back. They don't rate him enough. So yeah, I'm going to go in awful. I feel like it's a little bit harsh, but I think there's some strikers in this list that potentially are slightly better. But remember as well, we can move these players in and around. Next, we've got Danny Ings. I'm going to go decent. Now, Danny Ings, probably people like to talk about the current era, but if we look back to the season before he signed for the Villa, when he was at Southampton, his record was absolutely incredible. And when he first was playing at Burnley as well, which got him the move to Liverpool at the time, I think he was a very, very good striker. If I get up his goals, I bet you he scored a lot of goals in the Premier League. I remember, again, the numbers he put up in COVID, I think it was over 20 goals, 100%. But he's currently at West Ham, not really performing too well. But he has got, here we go, Premier League goals. He has scored 72 goals and got 22 assists in the Premier League, which is really incredible. 94 goal contributions in 233 games. I think decent is probably right. Maybe he could even have an argument to put him in good, but I'm going to stick him in decent for now. Next, we've got Raul Jimenez. Raul Jimenez, another one who I'm definitely putting in decent. He's just literally recently become Mexico's all-time leading goal scorer in the Premier League. I really like him as a player, and I quite like to see kind of the form he's showing now. Now he's at Fulham, because obviously when he was at the Wolves before the head injury, he was absolutely unstoppable. He was incredible. He's one of the reasons why they broke into the Europa League. I really liked him as a player, and he kind of dipped, and then he went to Fulham. Didn't really see the same player, but then in recent kind of this season, towards the end of last season, he's kind of regained that form and become the player, like sort of the player he once was. So I think he's a very good striker. So I'm going to put in decent. Next, we've got Armstrong. Armstrong for me is a Championship striker. I'm going to put him awful, not good enough for me in the Premier League. He's still at Southampton. And what I always find interesting is he always puts up ridiculous numbers in the Championship. He did for Blackburn before he got the move. But he's one of those strikers that can't make the jump to the Premier League. So yeah, I'm going to put him in there. Next, we've got Dennis. Dennis, yeah, I'm going to put him in awful as well. But do I put him behind? No, I'll put him behind Edouard. A player that really kind of never really lived up to he showed a bit of promise at Watford. I think he had a move to Nottingham Forest. He's also played for West Ham and never really kind of shown and met the heights. He got relegated that season. He was a vibes player, very exciting footballer. Loved the Megs. I remember he broke the record for the most Megses in one season in the Premier League when he was at Watford that season, but never really hit the heights that we kind of all hoped for. He had a purple patch, didn't he? Let's be honest. I feel like I'm being a bit harsh here, but yeah, we'll put him in awful. Next, we've got Lacazette. Now, Lacazette is one I think that we can really discuss and kind of go through. Lacazette is a very interesting player. Let me get up his stats because I'm intrigued to see kind of just how well he did. A player that I absolutely loved. I really liked him and I always wanted him to do well. 54 goals and 25 assists in 158 games. Probably not good enough. I'm going to say decent. Well, probably put. I know. I think I'd prefer those two. I feel like people might think I'm being a bit harsh, but Lacazette kind of came with so much promise. I watched him at Lyon twice, and he was a player I was so excited to see in the Premier League. Kind of the numbers he'd been putting up, and the kind of way he'd been playing, even for France as well. He was absolutely incredible, and we'd seen it in the Champions League, the Europa League, and then we were all really expecting him to become the main man for Arsenal, but he never kind of really hit the heights. I'm looking here; his best goal scoring season was 14 goals, which really for the numbers and the price they paid for him, it's probably not good enough. And it's 14 goals, 13, 10, 13, 4, 4, 0. So it's like just a little bit disappointing, but still, you knew he was a decent player and you could see what he was trying to do. Next, we've got Patrick Bamford. Now, Patrick Bamford, again, is another one of those players that we talk about where they had a ridiculous purple patch. And again, I'm pretty sure now, if I'm thinking off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure it was another COVID season where I did a video on it recently. The numbers he put up in that season were absolutely immense. And he's played for a lot of Premier League sides. He's played for Chelsea, I think, Norwich, Crystal Palace, Borough, Leeds. He's got 24 goals and 11 assists in 100 games, which isn't a bad record. He got 17 goals in one season for Leeds, which is absolutely incredible. But I'm gonna have to put him in. Eh, like didn't really do it long enough. Kind of the rest of the you look at the rest of the time and the rest of the season he's played. He's got 1 goal, 2 goals, and 4 goals. So like it's not good enough. But on that one season alone, because we talk about purple patches, a lot of these players we spoke about it then with Dennis, but the purple patch we saw with Bamford was out of this world. So we'll put him in there, and a player that I quite enjoyed to watch. And he's an interesting one. He can be very frustrating. I know Leeds fans do get quite frustrated. Next, we've got Chris Wood. Now, Chris Wood, I'm going to put in good, and that's not even recency bias. Now, we speak about Chris Wood all the time and about how he's arguably one of the most consistent um, strikers in Premier League history, to be honest. And the numbers he's been putting up now for so many seasons. I'm a West Bromwich Albion fan, and he came through at the West Brom Academy, and I was really excited to see him. Never really got to play for the Albion, and we sold him. And then, since then, he's just scored wherever he's been. I remember watching him in the 2012 Olympics, and I remember him scoring then, and I was quite excited to see what he could kind of do, kind of really go on to achieve. But I didn't expect him to do as well as he has done. You look at his goal scoring record in the Premier League: 10, 10, 14, 12, then 3, 2, 2, 1, but then 14, 14, and 9. Like, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons currently where he scored over 10 goals, which is mental. And then he's already on to get, he needs one more goal, and that's 7 seasons with over 10 goals. He's got 78 goals and 8 assists. I think he's a good striker, and we spoke about it quite often on the channel, and we spoke about it on the podcast. Is he one of the best bottom half strikers of all time? Maybe there's an argument for it, but I really like him. I've always really rated him. Kind of know what you're going to get from him, so I'm going to put him in good. But then it feels like, is that recency bias? Is it recency bias? Is Chris Wood really better than Danny Ings and Raul Jimenez? Yes, probably. Actually, now thinking about it, yeah, I'm going to stick with that. Yeah, I'm going to say, oh, Danny Ings as well, though. I'm going to put him in the top of decent for now, and we'll see. That might change because I think Danny Ings and Raul Jimenez are two interesting players, but Danny Ings especially. I think Danny Ings again. You think about recency and about how he's kind of fallen off, but as a player, he was absolutely incredible. Anyway, so we have got Callum Wilson. Now, Callum Wilson is an interesting one again. Callum Wilson, the player I absolutely love, but he's just been absolutely tarnished with his career with injury problems. You look at the amount of games he's playing a season, it's 20, 13, 18, 20, and it's just not enough performances. But his goal scoring record is incredible: 88 goals and 23 assists. I presume he will go on to make the 100 club personally. I really like him. I think he's probably, again, indecent, and I'd probably have him around here. I'm going to put him below Danny Ings. I really like Danny Ings, so I'm going to put him in there. And I think that's mainly down to the fact that he just gets injured constantly. And I think he's been really good for Newcastle since he joined. He was great at Bournemouth as well. But again, it's injury problems. That's why he's not really gone on to be the best player. Because I think we all expect him to kind of really carry on the form. I remember that season when I think he first joined Newcastle. He hit the ground running. I was looking there: 12 goals, 8 goals, and 18 goals. Look, they're good numbers, but it's just not consistent enough, which is the problem. So we'll put him in decent for now. Next, got Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm going to go incredible. And I think you kind of stick with that. Even the numbers he put up when he fell out with Ten Hag, like if I could get the numbers up now, the numbers he put up under Ten Hag and the performances, yes, people were saying, oh, he's not pressing enough or whatever. That's what Ten Hag wanted to do. His goal scoring record in the Premier League was still incredible: 18 goals that season, which is crazy. And then before that, back in 2008, 2009, 18 goals, 31 goals, 17 goals as a winger as well in that time. So, yeah, I'm definitely putting him in incredible, and I think people will stand by that. And I think, really, you talk about him, he's one of the best Premier League players of all time. I think everyone will agree with that. The fact that he won a Ballon d'Or in the Premier League, he's an absolute joke. So yeah, incredible. And I think a lot of people will tarnish his record and think about the way he left and things and how toxic it got. We're talking about just the player itself here. So yeah, going in incredible. Next we've got Timo Pukki. Timo Pukki is another interesting one. Another player that's bit of vibes kind of thing, but he's got 22 goals and 6 assists, playing the Premier League for 2 seasons. Both seasons got 11 goals. Both seasons. Decent, isn't it, really? Top of because he hasn't done it enough. So we'll stick him there. A player that I really like, and it's like an inevitable, isn't it? When he comes up, he always plays well, doesn't he? He's got one Player of the Month award as well. Next, got Josh Sargent, put him at the bottom of in awful. In Premier League wise, yes, Championship he's a good striker, but he's just not good enough for the Premier League. Like I think it's one of those players where you just think, yeah, he didn't even make the step up, did he? Next, we've got Aubameyang. Let's have a look. Where do I want to put Aubameyang? Now, Aubameyang one is a very, very interesting one. Where do I want him? I think I'm going to go good. I think, again, a frustrating player, but we saw ridiculous levels from him. And I don't think you can kind of look and speak again, because I know a lot of people talk about expectation to reality, but really he was consistent. And again, the way he left the club probably tarnishes his record, but still, goal scoring record wise, an incredible striker and so good for Arsenal for so many years, and kind of in a really weird era of Arsenal. Kind of speak about that Arsenal era, and it's a really difficult way to judge players because you kind of think about the way they were playing and what was going on and things. It's just, yeah. So I'm going to put him in good. Next, got Ollie Watkins, also in good. I'll put him below Aubameyang. I really like him as a striker. Put some good numbers up now. Actually, no, I'm going to put him above Aubameyang. Yeah, put some ridiculous numbers up now since joining Aston Villa, breaking records, assisting, which is, I think is another part of his game, which is absolutely incredible. I love him as a striker, and yeah, I'm definitely putting him in good. Very good player. Next, got Danny Welbeck. We're going to put him in decent. I think probably above. Yeah, we'll go there. Well, no, we'll put him above Danny Ings. We'll put him in decent. A player who's been just really consistent now, put up good numbers, and has played now for so long. And I don't think you play in the Premier League for as long as he has done and not be a decent player. I think it'd be ridiculous to say he's good, but ridiculous to say, I think he's a decent player, like a solid player, reliable again. I think that's what we talk about with a lot of these players. Reliable for so many years. So, yeah, definitely indecent. I really like him. Next, we've got Ashley Barnes. Ashley Barnes, I'm going to put him in the top of above Timo Pukki. Now, Ashley Barnes for me is a really fun one. I really like Ashley Barnes as a footballer, and I always think as a striker, he's kind of played in a few eras at Burnley, played with Sam Vokes, played with Chris Wood and other strikers, but he was always the main man, wasn't he? Now at Norwich and things. But what I really like about him, he's a really good second striker. I think he allowed the players like Chris Wood and played really well with the two of them. So like real different combos, but I really liked him. And a kind of an S house really got under players' skin. Like you just knew what you were going to get with him. He's always going to cause team problems. So yeah, I'm going to put him in there. Not decent, but not awful. Next got Timo Werner. I'm going to put him in the top of awful. For Chelsea, as a striker, yeah, just not good enough. Like didn't really hit the heights that we were all expecting. And yes, I know he's playing all right at Tottenham now, but he's playing as a winger. So yeah, I'm going to put him in awful. Next, we've got Jordan Ayew. I think we'll go bottom of air. Now, a lot of people like to sleep on him, but he'll get you goals, and he's been a very consistent player now in the Premier League for so long. And I think that's a big thing again. It's similar to Danny Welbeck and some of these other players that we're going to be talking about. He's been consistent. I'm going to put him above Timo Pukki, and I'm going to put him above Patrick Bamford. Like a player now that's been playing now in the Premier League for so long, and he's reliable. He will get you goals. An interesting player. I like him, and Crystal Palace fans will talk about him in the same way. People enjoyed him. He's a good player. Next, got Richarlison. Richarlison, put him at the bottom of decent. I don't think he's as good as people like to make out. I think Tottenham really overpaid for him as a striker. An interesting player, though. You know what you're going to get with him. He's, again, another S house who causes a lot of teams problems, but I don't think he's good enough to be in a top six club. I don't think he's that player. So, yeah, that's just my personal opinion. I don't think really his goal scoring record is good enough to put him on the level of some of the other strikers we'll be talking about. Next, got Iheanacho, bottom of there. Actually, no, above Timo Pukki and Iheanacho, and probably above Jordan Ayew. A player that kind of I was really disappointed with the way he came through at Manchester City. He started bagging goals. I thought this guy's a decent player. He got that move to Leicester and he started well. A player that I thought, okay, this guy is going to replace Jamie Vardy over time, but just never ever actually got round to do it. A player that kind of frustrated me because you can't tell he's got an eye for a goal, but just a very frustrating player. You always want more from him. I think that's the real frustrating thing. So yeah, I'm going to put him in the top of air, actually, probably above Ashley Barnes. But yeah, just a bit frustrating. You kind of can tell he's got the ability, but just can never really get it going, which is frustrating. So we're going to put him there. Next, we've got Romelu Lukaku. Romelu Lukaku now, a player that I'm going to say, I'm going to go incredible. And I think a lot of people now will probably go, what on earth are you on about? There was a really weird narrative when we talk about Lukaku. Lukaku's goal scoring record in the Premier League is absolutely incredible. This guy is an absolute joke. He is part of the Premier League 100 club. And look, listen to this. You ready? He scored 121 goals and got 35 assists. That's 150 goal contributions in 278 games, which is incredible. That Man United season where everyone joked about him, he got 12 goals. The season before, he got 16. That is not a bad record, 28 goals. Then at Chelsea, the most recent one, he got 2 seasons of 8 goals. Not good enough, but kind of did fall out with the club. But then if you look before that, Everton, 25 goals, 18 goals, 10 goals, 15 goals. West Bromwich Albion, my team, got 17 goals. This guy was an absolute joke. And I think for some reason, there was a really weird narrative that the media pushed. And it was like the lazy thing and this bad touch and things. But as a goal scorer, the guy's a joke. You don't score 121 goals without being an incredible striker. I think his numbers don't lie. And I think there's just a really weird narrative that people like to push with him, which I'm not a fan of. I really like him as a player. So I'm going to definitely go incredible. Next, we've got Diego Jota. Diego Jota is a good striker. I'll put him in the bottom of good. Again, another player that's kind of tarnished his career with injury problems. That's what I just feel for him. Like, I want him to do more, but whenever he seems to kind of play, because we always joke about this, especially on the podcast again, he's a player that always seems to score. Every game he plays, he always scores, but then he's always injured. He's got 59 goals and 19 assists. Not a bad record. You look at his goal scoring record: 15 goals, 10 goals, 7 goals. But the appearances wise, he's not making many appearances. But I like him as a player, so I'm going to put in the bottom of good because again, just frustrating. I want him to do more, but it's injuries. It's similar to what we spoke about with Callum Wilson and a few other players on this list. Next, we've got Divock Origi. Divock Origi, really, I'm going to put him in air, top of air. A player that really not got a great goal scoring record, but again, another player you can talk about reliable. You think about moments, and he's a moments player. You think about the Champions League and things like that. A player that Liverpool turned to in their moment, and he was always seemed to be reliable. Yes, he never really hit the heights. I know he went to, I think it was Forest off the back of it and things like that, and he never really lived up to what everyone thought he was going to be. But for those moments, I think you've got to put him in. You can't. I feel like it's a bit harsh, but like goal scoring record, let's get it up quickly. I don't think it's actually that great. It's 22 goals and 7 assists. His best goal scoring season was 7. So yeah, I think he's probably right. But the only reason why he's at the top again is for those Champions League moments. Ferran Torres, I'm gonna put him in awful. I think it's probably a bit harsh, but yeah, I didn't really get to see him enough at Manchester City and kind of left a bit of an odd player. But they made money on him, so yeah, we'll put him in awful. Next, Cavani. Now Cavani is another weird one. As a player as a whole, we can talk about he's a joke, but we're talking about his Premier League career. 41 games, 12 goals, 4 assists. It's not a bad record. 10 goals in his first season. I'm putting him in decent. Like, he's a decent striker, but Premier League wise, he's probably career. He came towards the end of his career, wasn't it? And again, Man United at a very weird time where it's really difficult to judge these players because you don't know like how you judge a player in a team like that when they're not creating things, especially a striker. So yeah, you've got to filter him in that sense. Next, Anthony Martial. We'll put him in there. Now, Martial, a very, very frustrating player. Again, a player that you look at as a whole. There is a player there. We all know there is a player there, and again, we know we can joke about it and you speak about like how bad it got towards the end. But 209 games, 63 goals, 28 assists, one Player of the Month award. He got a season where he scored 17 goals, 11, 10, 17. So, look, there is a player there, but it just never really came to light. And I don't know what it was. Again, we can talk about injuries and things, but it just never seemed like it just fit, did it? When he first joined, I remember that goal against Liverpool and the way he started right at the start. You were like, this guy is incredible. He was exciting, but then it just something never really clicked and fell into place. And it was always a player that going on his day, and he was an on his day player. And when I think that people describe players as an on their day player, it means they're not good enough. So that's why we're going to put him in there. Like, just not decent, is he? Just didn't do it enough. When you think played over 200 times in the Premier League, you just want a little bit more. A very frustrating player that I just feel like I'm being a bit harsh here. But next, we've got Saint Maximin. Saint Maximin wasn't a striker, so I don't know why he's on this list. Really, he's in awful. Like, he's not. He was decent. Like, he was an exciting player, but really, I don't think he can be put higher up on this list. Next, got Che Adams. I think again awful. Another one of those players. It's a very relegation kind of signing, isn't it? Really, never really hit the heights that anyone really expected. He did well at Birmingham City in the Championship, but again, a frustrating player that you always wanted more. Next, we've got Shane Long. I'm going to put Shane Long in F. I like Shane Long. I was a West Bromwich Albion fan, so I got to see Shane Long in the Premier League for my team. He was a very decent player, had a good goal scoring record as well at Hull, Southampton. Consistent player. I think he's a solid player. I don't think he's kind of anything incredible, but I think he's one of those players that you always again wanted more, but you could rely on him putting in a 6 out of 10. Wasn't always a goal scoring striker, but did so much more, brought other players into play, really always occupied defenders. So, yeah, I liked him in that sense. Next, Lucas Moura. Lucas Moura, we'll put him at the bottom of decent. I don't think he's got a bad record, don't get me wrong. A very interesting player, but again, just somebody who I know he's probably a winger. I think probably striker is probably not really the right position to, but we'll say if he is a striker in this situation. Actually, no, he's not a striker and he wasn't decent. Let's just think about it now. I'm thinking about moments again. And this is the problem with some of these players that play for the big boys. You can't help but think of iconic moments. I think he's F. I don't even think he's that great. I'd probably put him. in and around Ashley Barnes, which seems a bit ridiculous. So we'll put him there. Really, his goal scoring record, he's got 20 goals, got 15 assists. He is a winger though, isn't he? Really, I don't think he was a striker. So I feel like that's a bit of a weird player to have in this list. So do you know what? Let's whack him in awful. Actually, let's just think about it as a whole. He's not even a striker. So yeah, you've seen the way I've just argued myself here, and this is why this channel is the best. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, because I'm at least I'm real with you. He got one Player of the Month award, which is mental, back in 2018. But yeah, I just looked. He's only got 10 goals once in his career. It's just, yeah, not good enough. Josh King, a weird one, bottom of decent. Sorry, bottom of air. A player again, interesting career. Did well at Bournemouth. Never really worked out at Everton. Didn't really work out at Watford. A player that again I thought would kind of go on and do even better in his career. I think he came through at Manchester United, if I'm rightly so, and he always seemed to score against them because he always played incredibly well. But he's like one of those players that again kind of decent at that like bottom half striker level. 53 goals, 17 assists. You look at his record: 16 goals one season, 12 goals one season. Like, he's not a bad striker or anything like that, but again, didn't when we're talking about great strikers, he's not on the same level. Next, got Firmino. Firmino's definitely good. I think he's a very underrated striker. I really like him. A player that you brought in so many of the players. I think that's kind of really slept on when talking about Firmino. Everyone goes, well, he didn't score enough. Well, the way he combined with the likes of Mane and Salah just shows how good he is. The fact that he was playing as he was the kind of the focal point in that team, and he brought those two players in, and I think he made them even better, providing so many goals. I loved him as a striker, and again, so exciting. So I'm going to say good, and a player that I feel like he's really slept on. Next, Hwang for Wolves has had a decent run, but really he's probably indecent. Like, he's not anything. Sorry, Air. Sorry, I keep saying decent when I'm pointing at Air. He's an okay striker, but again, not on the same level as some of the other players that we're talking about. Fabio Silva, awful, especially when you consider the price tag they paid. Next, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, a very, very weird one now. Now, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a player that I can never decide how I feel about him. Dominic Calvert-Lewin frustrates me as a player. Again, we talk about strikers and we talk about consistency. The guy's got 56 goals and 15 assists. There was two seasons and around COVID, 13 goals and 16 goals, where you thought this guy could really go on to become a great striker, but never really hit the heights that we all expected. Did he really? Like, I think we all expected more for him. But for that little era, when he showed the flickers, I'm going to put him in decent. And what I like about him is what he did in that era. Especially, I think he was under Ancelotti. Like, he got links for moves away to likes of Arsenal and things like that, and other big clubs. He's an okay striker. I just want more, and I think bottom of decent's probably right. Flirting with air. Next, Gabriel Jesus. I'm gonna put him in decent, but again, quite low down. As an actual striker, he's a great footballer, but we're talking about striker here. Doesn't score enough goals for me, and that's the frustrating thing. I don't think he's got the eye for a goal. I think he's a more like a, we talk about false nines, and he's a good winger and things. As an actual striker, he's decent. Again, he brings other players into play, like he did in the under Pep Guardiola, and he has done under at Arsenal under Arteta. But you should want again more, because there's a player in there, but it's just that eye for goal, the conviction in front of goal. Yeah, a bit frustrating. Next, we've got Maupay. I'm going to put him in the bottom of awful, or do I put him in? Did you know what? We'll put him at the bottom. He's not awful, is he? Again, We'll put him mid kind of F range. I think kind of as a whole, when you look at it, again, an S House player that is okay. Goal scoring record, not brilliant, but he's got a role and he frustrates defenders. So that's why I put him in there. He's not useless. Next, we've got Harry Kane. Number one for me, one of the best strikers I've seen in my time in the Premier League. Absolute joke. Goal scoring wise, incredible. Performance wise, and his all round player as a striker, absolutely incredible. One of the best Premier League players that we've got to see in a generation. Again, a player that he's slept on, really. And I think when I say slept on, I don't think for some reason he's kind of, I think because of the trophy thing and the fact that he played for Tottenham, and it kind of, you can run that joke and things like that. The guy scored 213 goals, got 46 assists in 320 games, three times Golden Boot winner. Player of the Month award 7 times, got 30 goals in 2 seasons. It's incredible, really, isn't it, when you think about it like that? So he's in a grade on his own. If I'm honest, if there was anything above incredible, that would be Harry Kane. Because in my lifetime, best striker I've seen in the Premier League. Next, got Mikel Antonio. Mikel Antonio is again a weird one, so I'll put him in decent. And I know a lot of West Ham fans might be going, "What are you on about? Like, that's ridiculous." The reason why I put Antonio in that level is because I think Antonio has actually got an okay record. I think, yes, he's not the most. I'm trying to think of the right word. great on the eye to watch. He can be quite frustrating. He's got 68 goals and 33 assists. 3 seasons where he's got 10 goals in the Premier League. So he's got to be indecent. But you think about it, he came as a right back, right winger, kind of played in those kind of positions at Nottingham Forest before. But he's kind of been very consistent for West Ham. And what I find really interesting is West Ham have tried to buy so many strikers, and the guy they didn't even sign as a striker still seems to play up there. Even now, he's got played 14 games this season. Yes, his goal scoring record isn't as great now, but I think he's a decent striker. Again, a reliable one. So yeah, I think probably underrated is probably the word I'd use, and probably overhated because, again, as I said, he's not the most attractive on the eye, and it can be quite frustrating. Next, got Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy for me, I'm going to put in incredible. As a striker, I'm going to put him ahead of Ronaldo in the Premier League because we're talking about his Premier League time. So you think about the kind of numbers he's put up, and even still now, he's still scoring goals now. And again, we talk about his record. He is absolutely incredible. Golden Boot winner in that season under when they won the league. He was absolutely incredible. Won the Player of the Season that year as well. And you look at his record: 141 goals and 46 assists is incredible. And the fact he's still going at the age of 37, I think, just highlights how consistent, how incredible this guy is. And he kind of, as he's got older, his game has changed, especially under Brendan Rodgers. You saw him kind of really kind of calm down that pressing striker that he became, and kind of like really honed down and kind of pressed in moments and things. Because before under Ranieri, he was absolute chaos, and which made him incredible. Same as Nigel Pearson. That season where they could have got relegated, he played really well towards the end. I remember him occupying our defenders and scoring against the Albion right towards the end of the season. But yeah, brilliant player. So I think, do you know what, I'm pretty happy with that list. There they are. All of the Premier League strikers ranked from the 2021-2022 season. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. This is something a little bit different. I'll do more of these because I quite enjoy looking back and kind of reflecting on what happened in the Premier League, what used to be. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. Please smash the like button. Please subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Bucket Sam, over and out. Goodbye. See you soon.